live stream. We are here to talk about some 40K that has been going down here in 11th edition and talk about who's been winning and who's been losing. And, Phil, have you been winning or have you been losing?
I've been winning a few games of 40K. I must still know what I'm doing.
Okay, good to hear. Yeah, this past weekend, I did run the Cowboy Classic here in Laramie, and Phil was able to make it up. So we got to hang out a little this weekend for once. Yeah, it was good, and we got to see some very good armies performing
Mhm.
very, very well throughout the tournament. But we want to look at kind of what's been going on the last couple weeks, and so we pulled up that data off of Tabletop Battles 40K stats, and we're gonna take a look at that. So yeah, let's dive right in.
Cool. So let's prepare everyone for managing expectations in 11th edition. Lane, you and I, when we brought on our faction experts, when we brought on our strat reserve guests, one of the things when we talk about winning percentage is winning percentage does not have any reflection towards the capabilities of your army. There is such a thing as, the best type of army and the best type of situation with a player that's comfortable with the rules, that's a faction expert, that can go really, really far. We have quite a few examples of that in our own local meta all around the U.S. There's plenty of players that come to mind that have persevered through their ups and downs of their faction because they are comfortable with the units that they have. They are faction experts, so they know how to play. They know the lines because they've worked hard and they deserve their kudos. People that come to mind: Cody Giroux, Nick Rizosco, Andre Gorin, yourself. Like, you have not deviated off guard. It is You would consider yourself a faction expert at this point, and you have ridden the highs and the lows. So just everyone, it's okay. If your faction is at a 30% win rate, like some of mine are, that does not make your faction bad. It does
Yeah.
not.
Yeah, it like things can definitively be tougher. Like, right, we can acknowledge that there can be adjustments that have to be made, but it does not mean that you cannot play something to a win. It also does mean, oh, hey, we'll talk about this a little bit, but like just because like it's a whole new edition, like of course things are going to change. The units you play are going to change. That can happen in just a balanced data slate that comes along within the edition, right? And so I think the biggest thing to just harp on guard, because that seems to be everybody's favorite topic for the last 2 weeks, and stuff, is just like, yes, it does play very differently, and yes, you are using just totally different units that you didn't really use in 10th, and that's okay, right? And like it doesn't mean that it's impossible to win. It doesn't mean that they're the best and the easiest army to play. No, they still have the capabilities to win games. And yes, right now, everybody's known for the last year that as soon as Nemo was just murdering people with recon, they're like, you know what, that is the best way to play this army. It just, like, it's crazy. There's just nothing a lot of people can do about it. And none of us still went out and bought 250 guard models because none of us wanted to do that, you know? And it is unfortunate that there isn't just, the easy, we just play the same old kind of well-rounded list right now as easily as we did before. But I think it's one of those things of, once guard players can actually kind of get used to playing some of the new missions and learning that there are, like, I'm even looking at not playing combined arms, like, I know that's saying something. A world without lethals, who am I? But like, I still feel like there is enough sauce and there's other just cheap units we can spam, right? You can't just play the, I'm going to throw 10 guardsmen on your objective and I denied you points. Like, that isn't as simple anymore because of just baked in, Leonin aggression version of heroic intervention now. Like, it's a lot more nuanced than that when it comes to list building for a guard player. You can't just do the old reliable, I just run idiots up the field. Um, And yeah, it's an adjustment for sure. But there's multiple other armies out here that are getting some adjustments, and GW is already, we've seen with the Tacoma FAQ, right? Phil, for example, playing GSC, right? That interaction is now unbroken, right? You now can bring back models or units that had a character because they fixed the wording and cleaned up that, right? Like I wouldn't expect it's long before guard gets cleaned up to have orders happen before battle shocks again, just
Yeah.
on the timing, just because it makes sense. And like those things are going to help, but I don't know. I think guard still is obviously solid. We saw two absolutely crusher weekends out of some guard players running a couple different lists, and yeah, still very strong.
Okay. Well, enough about guard. Let's get into who's actually dominating the meta right now. Um, and I want to put these in a group together because I think these top five armies are very close to the armies that Lane and I were discussing um, at the start of the edition in terms of where we projected these to be in that A tier, S tier. Now, Orcs, Tau, Necrons, EC, and T-Suns. Each one of those does certain dispositions very, very well, and they have units that excel in doing those missions. So, for those that aren't aware, and that's perfectly okay, Orcs right now are probably one of the best armies in the game. I I have seen it played. I have played against it. I don't need to be told anymore that orcs are good. They are fantastic because they have a few things. They have great durability. In their new combined freebooters detachment and Mordaka, they get to WA multiple times, which means that 5-up invul stacked with potentially the 5-up Feel No Pain if you're running the big bricks of boys with the pain boy inside and all this stuff, like they are incredibly durable. They have fantastic OC. They can bring back models on objectives. They can advance and charge with pretty much everything. You have Gaz running up the board, who's incredibly lethal when he's stuck behind 20 boys, and you really can't dig him out. They have great shooting, shootas and ludas and tank busters. All of those things are very, very good.
And
Very
they're too damn cheap. That's the biggest thing.
good.
Yeah. But again, all right, we've got maybe what 2-3 weeks until we're probably looking at the Orc Codex dropping
2 weeks.
2 weeks, and then they are just gonna probably change a fair amount in general. I think
Yeah.
they're gonna be very similar still. I don't think there's plans to change everything about the faction by any means, but in general, I think enjoy it while you can. I think they're still probably going to be pretty strong. I don't think GW is looking to make their release box faction weak by any means. So I think it'll still be pretty good. We'll just probably see some points hikes as soon as they do any updates. So
Now, Lane, your just personal perception, are orcs actually the best army in the meta right now? Because I believe, they are.
I think so. I think are okay. Are we talking FAQ, like post Tacoma FAQ, or are we talking pre
Post, yeah.
post?
Now
Okay.
going,
Yeah, I think so. I think again, they are still so killy, they're so fast, and they're so cheap that they really just do it all. I mean, the win rate is fairly definitive on
mm,
here. For a faction that still likes to run a lot of like fluffy lists and have fluffy players, they're crushing it as a faction. So I'd say they're the best. I think honestly, the closest one before the FAQ though was going to be Necrons. We now know, right, you're not going to be able to bring back characters, and your reanimation is going back to being a little more toned down the way it was in 10th. You can't do the same BS you could before. To a certain extent, you can still have characters now bring back their bodyguard unit, which is great, but not being able to bring back precision down characters and all the other bullshit, that leaving is going to make Necrons go down a skosh, but I think they're still going to be very strong.
yeah, I just think Necrons will always be that army who's incredibly solid because they have lethality, they have good OC, they have mobility tricks, they have ways to resurrect. Um, and they're relatively durable for their points cost. The only time they really fall back and fall behind is when um, like mobility itself takes center stage in the meta, and it becomes like the one way you have to play. But with dispositions nowadays, that is not a requirement. Like you can play a very straightforward take and hold style mission where you don't need the mobility that a lot of armies have to rely on, and you can control objectives really well with you know obnoxiously tough wraith bricks and just be like, okay, well, I'm going to sit on this objective and you're not going to kill me in one activation and I'm just going to resurrect and take the OC back. So what are you going to do about it? Which are all fair questions that not a lot of armies can answer. So yeah, it's very, very interesting. Necrons are always going to be solid. It does not shock me that they're at the top of the meta because take and hold is disposition that they like a lot. And not to say that they can't do the other ones, but if I was to play Necrons, take and hold would be the one that I'm drawn to the most before I kind of diverge into other things.
Yeah. Yeah, and it just comes, with Awakened. So,
Yeah.
why would you not want to run take and hold for that? Yeah. It's very good. And I think that's honestly one of the other things I feel like we've kind of seen not like non-specific faction wise, but like some of the detachments got dispositions that really just kind of like fit what they were trying to do a little better than others. And I think honestly, I think that's one of the bigger adjustment points that could maybe help is just kind of changing which detachments do what dispositions, kind of into the future. Some of the armies just really feel like while detachments are kind of good, they don't really like fit with what you generally are trying to use their detachment rules for when you try to play the mission that comes with them. And so it can make it feel like either, if it's a 2 detachment point detachment, at least you have the chance to maybe like take the tax of having to play a specific other 1 DP detachment so that you can
Yeah.
play a mission you want to. But if it's a 3 detachment point detachment and it doesn't actually fit that well, it just is like, these are good rules, but I just like the list you want to build doesn't actually mesh as good as you would like to play that disposition.
Yep. Absolutely fair. Um, Yeah. But the next army that we're going to talk about does actually have that disposition that matches the type of play that you want, which is Tau. Which is the one thing that I think going into 11th edition, when the rules were getting released and we were getting an idea of the dispositions and we were getting an idea of the layouts and the changes to rules, like, being able to just poke into terrain and shoot out of it, everyone's first thought is Tau is going to be a menace. Tau is going to be a problem. Tau is going to be the thing that dominates the meta. Now, does this reflect a domination of the meta? I would say it's pretty good. It's pretty strong. 18 tournaments winning position means you are undefeated at the 4-0 mark, with the capability to go win. 7 undefeateds, and this is over the span of, I think I put in here 2 weeks.
Yeah.
Yeah, like that is not a lot of time, and you already have that many tournaments in winning position, that many undefeateds. You have a very large player pool being 63. Um, and
Yeah.
then yeah, it's very, very strong. And
Yeah.
understandably, people are concerned about it. Lane, what are your thoughts on Tau?
I think it's one of those things to where they still have enough terms and conditions to like get their, oh, you must mark things and you must do these, to really make their damage pop off. They still have to pay kind of a unit tax, which I think helps kind of tone them down a little bit. But it's nice to see here, right? They're 53% win rate. Like they're not that abusive. They're still a very, very good army. I think in teams, especially, they're still just so gross as some to have to deal with, especially if they decide to first defend and get a board pick. Especially some of those honestly weird, like the long board edges. They can get
Yeah.
some really fast angles and stuff. But in singles, I think there's still enough play as people learn how to kind of hide their models in the new edition a little bit better. I think that's going to help also kind of be an adjustment to Tau. Still always going to be very good. Monka Tau, a lot of damage, very fast is going to be good, but like I don't think it's oppressive.
I would agree. I think there's gonna be some things that I believe GW should do in terms of toning Tau down, um, that I don't think should be taken too hard. Like, my fear, and, Lane, you and I were talking about this, and I was talking to this with a lot of people that we were, communicating with this weekend at your team's tournament, is like, I would love GW to take a gradual approach towards, um, corrections, right? Because at the end of the day, if you have come out and said, as GW as a whole has said, we are going to have, 1 month, and then we're going to do FAQs every month. That means that you actually are building in the system of, hey, we can actually get this really close to a balanced meta, right? If we don't try to undercorrect or overcorrect, we just temper it down. Like, yes, do you touch orcs? Do you touch Tau? Necrons probably. T-Suns absolutely. EC. Um, there's some things you can do there, and then there's some armies that we could bring up, and we do that in a very gradual sense, and we let the meta tell us the response, and we can immediately go back in after that month. I think that's really valuable. So I really hope GW does that.
Yeah. Yeah, I completely agree. I guess let's talk about some chaos though that has been doing pretty good. We weren't quite sure when we did the tier list exactly where Emperor's Children would land. I don't know. It felt a little ambiguous as to quite how good they would do. They are repping a very good win percentage. They're
Yeah.
very high on that, but it does look like they are struggling to have quite as many tournaments and winning positions as the other factions that are up there, right? And so I think that's kind of the thing that we are like, it's still going to require a lot of very good play to pilot them all the way to a GT win, but they're still very very strong.
Yeah. So the one thing that's propping EC up right now is Carnival, which is the detachment that allows you to take um, Slaanesh demons with your EC. So you're seeing a lot of demonettes, a couple demon princes, your infractor units with Lord Exultans, and then what has survived, which is the Defiler. EC now has the number one Defiler, not Death Guard, not CSM, not T Suns. The EC Defiler has now shown itself as reigning supreme among all the others. And it shows, right? I don't think EC is nearly as good without a shooting platform that can use to pressure the board without committing assets, which is one of, we'll talk about it very soon because Lane and I finally, I think, have a grasp of 11th edition, and we're going to start doing our layout videos. But EC without defilers becomes very bad, especially in this meta, because it just can't. There's too many armies that it trades down into, right? Like it doesn't have enough tools to actually play the game, and it needs an army like Purge the Foe, or a disposition like Purge the Foe to be effective. So yeah, it's going to be tough. I hope they don't touch it too much. I hope they just bring back like Predators, Vindicators, like Noise Marine Vindicators with like, I don't know, make them cool. It'd be sick. But they need to keep defilers because if they don't have them, they are going to really, really struggle. So I would say EC are in a great spot right now, and I would like to see them touch very gradually, but not that much, right? Like I think they're in a very, very good spot, and I'd be disappointed if GW took it too far.
Yeah, yeah, I think that's as you were saying before, right? With monthly FAQs and tweaks, GW could do a lot of good, and EC could use a little. T Suns could use maybe a little more,
Yes.
specifically when it comes to the robots. That interaction is just way too strong.
Yeah, so we'll press on to some more chaos, but Lane is right. Our good friend Malachi Fowler, who has come on the show, who just finished number one at ATC after the team's tournament we went and played with. Um, Thousand Suns are very good, mainly because Secretary robots, mainly because you have to be on terrain, and that's where they get their benefits of +1 to wound. The fact that they do have efficiency in their psychic abilities, but those are solid. And then Terminators, Thousand Suns Terminators, Rubric Terminators are still very good And when you combine those three things with an army that does have the efficiency to kill just about everything, and Lane and I talked about it at the beginning of the edition, and it's good to see that it's coming to fruition. Is like you have to have lethality in this edition. There is no such thing as surviving on durability because armies like orcs, like T-Suns, like EC, like Tau are out there, and they are so lethal. Like you have to be okay with your units dying because now you can't even protect your units by being behind a profile and touching objectives. Like you're touching these objectives. I have noticed, and it's like the one thing that I've said about 11th edition so far is like I lose units faster
Yeah.
than I ever did in 10th.
Yeah. I mean, it's kind of just like there's, and we'll start looking at this in the layout videos, but there's just far more places to go and stage. And then on top of that, just because of the way the hidden rule works, so many more times people are like, oh, well, I can just go and touch this. And I know you can't see me this turn, but then their unit is right here. And then something's right there. And they're like, well, I'm going to go try to fight that. And it just, the way it progresses the game that extra bit faster can really lead to, like I would say on average, in 10th edition, most games, end of the game, there's 800 points on the board. 11th edition, like maybe 300, but like between players, like
Yeah.
total 800 in a game of 10th, and now it's like there's not going to be 500 points left between the two of you, most likely, unless somebody just absolutely ran the other person over. But in most drawn out games of 40k, I think it's just so much less material actually makes it to the end of the game.
Yeah. Okay. So top five. I think we both agree top five that makes sense.
Yeah,
Okay. Lane, I'm very high on this next army.
it's good.
I think Grey Knights are incredibly good, and I think they have all the tools to play 11th edition well. They
I,
have
I
great up down. They have great durability. They have great lethality. Like, this does not shock me that they are having good win rates.
no, I mean it's still psychic, tons of psychic, where you're just ignoring things. And the other thing too, though, was like I think the hardest part of like really feeling good about Grey Knights in 10th was like, man, I really have to focus on like trying to secure those good rapid ingress areas because of the way boards are designed in 11th, and because of not only hidden but gone to ground. If you can rapid ingress terminators within 12, like just outside of 12 inches of people because of gone to ground, it feels so much better in general.
Yep. Like, and that for me is what catapults them, right? Like a good player finding positioning, forcing your unit, forcing your opponent to push beyond where they need to. So trading assets for free to screen you out, which is always a thing Grey Knights want you to do, or being in a position where they have to allow you to deep strike, otherwise, they're giving up something valuable. And um, Grey Knights are lethal enough and fast enough that they can take advantage of it. I just think they're incredibly solid. I'm curious. We now have just about 10 viewers in the chat. Any surprises here? We'd love to hear what your armies that you're playing. That way, when we get to them, we can give you a shout out or maybe ask you some questions in terms of how your 11th edition experience has gone, because I know Lane and I have played quite a few games between us. So we are starting to see the pattern. We are starting to see, I kind of think what we expect to see for 11th edition as a whole, but we'll get back to it. If you have any questions, hit us up in the chat. If you have any comments, hit us up in the chat. We'd love to hear what you're playing right now in 11th edition. Grey Knights as a whole is I got the comments. We have two very good Grey Knights players, three very good Grey Knights players in our local meta. Brandon Roddy, Caleb, and Will, who all play Grey Knights to a very high standard. And the thing they always come back to me with is, Phil, Grey Knights are just too expensive. I was like, yeah, I mean, but you're paying for probably one of the most important mechanics in 11th edition, which is up down, for free 99. I like it. I want it in almost every one of my armies. I don't
Yeah.
know, but Lane, you have it in yours in like Gaunt's Ghosts. What are your thoughts on Grey Knights as a whole? Are they outside the top five drastically?
Um, No, I don't think so. I don't think, not definitely not drastically. I think they're a very very solid army, and I think the biggest thing is, and this is still the case for a lot of factions, is people are still trying to figure out what works for them. Right?
Mm,
Some armies, especially these top armies, it's been so obvious. Oh, I should play this because it's just busted, right? But as we're getting into these armies, either they don't have as good of just apparent crazy combos. Maybe they just don't have something super crazy in general, which is good, right? GW only let 5 factions have some ridiculous shit. Good for you. Um, but like Grey Knights, I agree. They're fairly expensive, but they do a lot of the things that you need them to do in this edition. Having like I don't know, seeing Will play Banishers and then like kind of talking with him on how to play that and stuff, like that's so hard to interact with. Even not just picking things up into deep strike, flat six reactive moves in general are just absolutely so good in this edition when people are trying to get, a 3-inch charge, which is the best you can get, and you're just like, oh nope, that's a 9, because maybe you want to stay on the board for some reason or the other. Super strong. Inherent toughness, 2 up saves across the board, amazing.
yeah.
Yeah, and just eh, oh, I don't know. I think they are expensive, but as long as you get to that point where you're not just throwing stuff away, you can pilot them to just a very high level.
I like them a lot. I think they're very solid. I'm very high on Grey Knights because I think they have all of the tools to play 11th edition well. Okay, we'll group these next five together because I think for me, all of them kind of are in the same spot. So we have Imperial Knights, Space Marines, Eldari, GSC, and Chaos Demons. So those five are very close within a percentile of each other in terms of win rate. Um, and I think each one has play into the top meta. But I also think each one loses like games probably out of nowhere. So like let's do Imperial Knights, right? That the big thing that people are just like very high on is like, hey, you just take Purge the Foe, you take Imperial Knights. Lane, guess how many games I played into Imperial Knights this edition?
Well, I know at ATC it was at least 2, so
Yeah.
I'm gonna guess you're at least up to 4 or 5.
I'm at 6 games now, playing GSC, playing Death Guard, playing Custodes, playing Eldar. I have not dropped a single game because Purge the Foe, although it is a real thing and it is something to be prepared for, I do genuinely think that if you're just moderately prepared for knights and you have a good game plan for them, I think knights struggle because to do some of these things, you have to come out and go after my shitty trade piece, whether it be GSC or Eldar. And then I have the lethality to just pick you up. Like, I'm not going to expose something early. And I can't just turn around and kill you and kill 2 or 3 big knights. And some armies just can't handle that. Now, on the flip side, this catches a lot of players, which I think is inherent in the 50% win rate, right? Like there are some
Totally.
matchups, especially in teams, especially in singles, where it's just like, well, you didn't have an answer for 5 big knights, and I just jammed them all in your face, and I got purge the foe. Like I got my purge, and I killed you, and I won the game because you don't actually have the tools to threaten me, which is something that like you have to be able to threaten to prevent your Imperial Knights player from just like all inning you.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's one of the other things that has kind of been interesting within 11th edition is I feel like it is honestly a little more rock paper scissory now,
Mm.
because now you can play factions that are already good at certain dispositions and just lean even farther into it, and so like yeah, Imperial Knights playing a stat check is very good against armies that struggle with that stat check. Against armies that don't, it's just like, oh, well, I can still kill a lot of you because I'm playing Imp Knights on Purge, but they still just kill me fast enough that, like, if I'm not careful or like I have to go trade down to go get my Purge kill or whatever, and I'm not careful about it, and they're a very cautious player who understands spacing, like, that's a very hard game.
Yes, very very difficult. But they're still good. and it does not surprise me to see them at the 50% win rate. So this is kind of like in 10th edition when we talked about this as a whole is if you're going to a GT and or an RTT and you don't know every player at that meta and like what they have and what they bring, I would always be prepared for Knights. Always. You always have to have a game plan because it would be a tough feeling if you didn't do your due diligence and go into a game with a plan into Imperial Knights and that was your like one loss at a GT or RTT. You just got to be prepared for them. Cool. All right, Lane, Space Marines,
Yeah.
low for me. This is lower than I would expect.
So it is, but again, it's an overrepped faction. There are
Yes,
tons
it
of
is.
Space Marine players. The stat that's important to look at is the last one. The one on the right is the ratio of tournaments in winning position. They have the highest ratio of any of
Yes,
these that we've looked at. So of those, they are getting a higher percentage of players to that 4-0 mark going into a tournament. And so like they're definitely putting up very good tournament results in terms of record, but in general, it's another faction that is overrepped by people who they just are playing the game, and that's totally fine, right? But it does drag down win rates.
it does. But they are still very good. They are for me in that top of the meta conversation. They do everything incredibly well. Those new land speeders are fantastic. At 95 points, it is criminal how cheap those are. And GW, you better hit them because they're just really good. They have a built-in reactive move. They take advantage of Oath, right? Like they when you give them Oath and +1 to wound, they have pretty much like a melta on there, and your assault cannon and your las cannon, and then they reactive after they shoot, and it's like, okay, well, what are you supposed to do about that? It is very, very difficult. And that's just like any version of Space Marines. I think there's quite a few uh, dispositions and attachments in here that play incredibly well. The one that stands out the most, Blades with priority assets. Who knew a combi weapon lieutenant is real good at pushing the button? And it's like that disposition was made for the traditional Space Marines list that you have seen so far. So,
Yeah. And
yeah,
not to
it's pretty
mention also Kato just sitting next to the combi weapon and just being like, you know what would really suck is if 2 units were just 6 inches farther away from you for no reason.
good. Yes.
So
Yes,
good.
that is unbelievably bad for some armies. Um, because you're right, like a flat 6 reactive in any phase, that's in your phase, that's in my phase. It does not matter. I can 6-inch reactive away with Kato. It's very difficult to deal with, and Space Marines are incredibly solid. There's a lot of ways. Like I've seen Ceramite. I really like Ceramite. I played against it multiple times. It's incredibly solid. Bastion, I still think has a lot of play. Um, Obviously Blades, obviously Gladius. I think you could go with any of the other generic Space Marines, like the Forge Fathers, right? Holy crap, is that good?
Yeah.
The Librarius Conclave, insane amounts of damage. Space Marines as a whole has a plethora, an almost obnoxious amount of choices. And we talked about this in the last live stream where it's like, I get why players are frustrated with Space Marines because, like, you have a codex that has 13 to 20 units, and then you look at the Space Marine codex and they're like something like 80 plus units. So, yeah, they have a lot of flexibility right now, which means they can play a lot of different dispositions, which means they can play a lot of different factions, and it is reflected here where just because they have a 49% win rate does not mean they are a 49% win rate army. They are one of the best armies in the game.
Yeah, by far. Okay, moving on. Eldar, an army that we talked a little bit, and we're like that thing still is going to be struggling. Uh, and I still don't think that's wrong. I think it is still an army that requires faction experts to take to a GT win. They've had 2 undefeateds, which is still a good rate out of 20 players, basically.
I like them. I personally really enjoy the flexibility that Eldar gives you. Now, Seer Council has been the dominant thing at the beginning of this edition in terms of what people have played, and I get that. the big Guardian bricks or the Defender bricks, Storm Guardians, with your Warlocks, with Eldrad, you still run your big bricks of characters with Jane's R and all the other accessories. So it's very, very solid. Um, I still think mobility is incredibly essential to 11th edition, and there are very few armies that are as fast as Eldari. So if I was an Eldari player right now, I would not get disheartened. I have found that there are some versions that I really like. I'm very high on Wind Rider. I have found that I really like that detachment as a whole, and I think they play incredibly well. I think they play Recon probably the best because they are so fast. And I mathed it out, and I think you as a player need to as well. I have found with the list that I'm like tailoring right now, that I don't see how I don't score 90 points in a game minimum. Like, doesn't matter the matchup, doesn't matter who I'm playing into. 90 points is the minimum as long as I play correctly, which is a huge weight off some players' backs when it comes to winning games of 40K. Because if I can math it out and say, hey, there's like I will score into Purge or into Take and Hold. No matter what, I'll score 90.
Yeah.
That's a great feeling.
Yeah. Yeah, speed and damage for some reason are still also very good, and Eldar does that well.
All right, we got a few questions. Hard to decide what to play with the new edition. What are your thoughts on
Um, just chase the meta. Whatever army you see is doing
that?
best that week, buy it all off of somebody. Whatever you see the next week, if it's not the same, sell your old one, buy a new one. Just keep it moving. No, play whatever your heart desires. Like legitimately, I don't think there's an army that's unplayable. Still, like don't play Imperial Agents. That's it. That's the only thing you're not allowed to buy is Imperial Agents. Um, but yeah, I think you can basically, whatever you're feeling. It's always better to enjoy your army and like what you're playing.
Yeah. I, I, I would just say like 40K is a long hobby, as in you have to spend a lot of time on it. So if the hobbying aspect is incredibly important, it's one of the things that like the majority of players struggle with. The hobby backlog is real. So like if you look and you're like, well, I wouldn't have fun building or painting these models, you should. It doesn't matter how good the army is. You should immediately not play it. Like if you wouldn't have fun or you don't think you'd be motivated to do the hobbying aspect, I would be strongly against um, collecting an army like that. So, and Warhammer has always been a cyclical game, as in it goes through the motions of like orcs. There was a point last edition multiple times where they were bottom of the barrel. They could not get a GT win to save their freaking life. They were very much struggling. But now they're at the top of the meta, and the players that have persevered and have, practiced and played through it, like they did good in 10th edition, but now they're being obviously rewarded for their great play. So you need to pick an army that aesthetically you're attracted to, and that you want to continue to hobby with. And yeah, I'm. I would always recommend just starting as a faction expert, right? Like, don't just pick something because somebody tells you it's good. There was a time when GSC was busted, like broken busted. And there's a lot of people that jumped on that train. And the problem with GSC is it's a very hoardy faction. So you got to paint a lot and do a lot. So if you're not willing to do those things, it can be very tough. So yeah, I think they're all different, but whatever aesthetically you like the most, that's what I would go with.
Yep, 100%.
Uh, Let's see, Aaron, you said you just got here. Can we start over? Unfortunately, no, you're not going to start over, but there is a rewind button. You can always go back and listen to our sultry voices over and over again, and catch back up. But if you have any questions, feel free to throw them in there. We'll answer any of the stuff that we said previously and happily because we love talking about 40K. All right, GSC, my one of my first armies. Lane, is that the army I'm known for? Is GSC like my thing?
Is GSC your thing?
I don't think so.
I mean, what else do you even play, dude? I can't even think of another. No, I'm just kidding. I mean, you hop around enough that it's kind of hard to say that you like really just like faction focus. I would say maybe Death Guard would be the only other one that you have played, a lot in the last year.
Sure.
That would probably be up there. But yeah,
Uh, these guys are the dark horses of this beginning of the edition. I think they're. I love them. I think they're so good. Biosacred Brute Surge I just ran this weekend to 3-1. Um, that one being a silly mistake on my end. That turned it from a slight win to a loss. So like I think they're incredibly solid. I think Outlander Claw is very good. I think Xenocult is fantastic, the 1 DP detachment. I think Pure Strain, which is the GSC or the Pure Strain 1 DP detachment, is so good. And guys, Final Day is in my veins. I am dreaming about the Hive Mind. I love my Vanguard Nids. That list is so fun. And it's so good. The Red Terror has unlocked things in that army that I didn't think were possible, and yeah, I just love it. I just
yeah.
love it.
All
Like
right, you
this,
mutant.
this is fine. Whatever. I don't care what the win rate is. Final day, I will go to my grave saying that they are incredible right now.
Okay. Well, you might have to. We might have to do a master class on that because I know a couple of GSC players who are looking for a little direction. So,
Yeah.
yeah. Up next, though, the Chaos Demons, who we just left out of our tier list, by the way.
Yeah.
We totally
I'm
forgot them.
aware.
But if you don't know, they're very good. Um, who would have thought that having cover switch to something that actually benefits your army
Yep.
helps a lot for one, and then just in general, battle shocks stocks are going up on those kind of interactions. Just that a lot of their stuff, being able to mix and match the demons detachments, I think has opened up so much more for them because I think a lot of the bigger problems are just like you didn't get enough out of the single god, like detachments earlier in 10th. But now you can take one and pepper in just even like some warp tide can help out just by what that can give you. Um, so I think they're benefiting in multiple ways from it, which is good to see. And yeah, people are doing good. 38 players, 8 tournaments in winning position. Um, that's not bad. And then a solid win rate. I think is one of those armies that actually, as we've talked about it with some people, um, I think I think it's a reasonable thing to look at demons and be like, you know what, that's got some sauce in multiple ways. I can see a lot of viable options, things that really didn't have the sauce before, can do it now.
Yeah. I just big birds are still good. Demons are still good. You're right. Battle shock is a real thing. And when you have all of that stuff in there, I mean, it makes sense to me. It makes sense why it's dominating the meta. It is a skew list, right? Because if I take 2 big birds or 3 big birds and Bellacore, once again, if you're not prepared for that, you could just catch an L, which is tough. So I would always be prepared for demons. Demons, Imperial Knights, like as skews, right? There's a lot of other armies you can get around with other ways, but like into those two, you need to have lethality to bring big birds down.
Yeah.
So, yeah. Okay. All right. And then we'll answer a few questions. And that was our 5-man bracket. So let's take a look here. Um, James Preacher says, "Are wolves the new Imperial agents?" No, absolutely not. No, James. No, 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 no. They're just fine. Um, they have one of the most durable Terminator units in the game. The only problem with Space Wolves right now is their detachments don't match up with what 11th edition wants to do. And I expect in this first FAQ, they are going to be one of the factions that is hit the most in terms of change the most. I would expect. Because if I was GW and I'm looking at and I'm reading these faction abilities and these detachments, I'm like, wow, that doesn't actually do anything in 11th edition, which is tough for a faction that has so much flavor. So they still have plenty of play. They still are Space Marines, so they're still inherently good. Yeah, they're solid. Let's see here. Jacob says, I played Necrons, and after the FAQ, I have played about 6 games, and I have not won any with Awakened Dynasty. I'm considering switching to Connected Court. Any thoughts on competitiveness? Okay. Um,
And
Jacob,
then
go ahead, Lane.
he also says, I also have, I also, I have to play Take and Hold for teams events, and I only own Necrons. Um, have to play Take and Hold. Okay, so that is a major restriction. I think Awakened is still good even after. It's not as busted. I think it's gonna change kind of where your points go in the list. It's gonna go back to being a little bit more kind of what we saw in 10th edition at the end there. Things that are still very, very strong, having the Necrosaur to stand back up, having oh shoot, Xeris, things like that that are ultimately pretty tanky and will cause your opponent to commit to kill them the first time around. I think is very strong. And then still sticking with some wraith bricks or something to be extra sticky, but trying to find I think more damage to put back into the Necron lists. I think is kind of something I would be wanting to do because I think kind of just um, uh, beforehand, you just kind of scammed people by just having so many wounds and just like, oh, you can precision my character. I've got another one. It comes back and playing kind of that style. I think going back to a more 10th mindset and needing Necrons that actually have some damage output. Um, but the nice thing is, I think you could start playing some more melee ish options for that damage, which I think is nice.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Um, I like Connected Court. The last time I played into it was at the Green Banner GT in the final. That was against why am I drawing a blank here? Lane, who did I play in the final at Green Banner?
Uh, at the Colorado Cup,
Yes.
Marshall Peterson.
Ah, yes. So I played against Marshall Peterson in the final at Colorado Cup, um, and he was running Canapta Court, and that was really interesting because he was running big bricks of Immortals with the characters, giving them rerolls. They had lethal sustained, had access to full rerolls to hit. Um, it does feel like a list that would be very good on Take and Hold, and thankfully, Canapta Court gives you Take and Hold, and it's a 3DP. So like. Um, I definitely think there's a world where you could very happily take big bricks of Immortals with big bricks of Necrons, stack them with characters, throw a couple DDAs in there, and a couple scoring pieces, and be very happy with a list that those Immortals can pump out the damage with lethal sustains and good AP. Like they tear through just about everything, which is pretty insane. And obviously, you probably bring the Nightbringer. Bring maybe one other Catan. I think. Let's see here. Those are about the only models that you don't own. He doesn't own Immortals. Oh no! I just gave all that advice for nothing. Okay, all right, it's fine. It's fine. It's fine. Let's go.
Um, I do think there's another option. If you own everything but those, I still think that the Cursed Legion that they had dropped
Oh yeah.
in January is very good. And then you can still throw in Hand of the Dynasty as your 1 DP detachment. It gives Immortals and Necron Warriors assault, and they can advance in action. So that's kind of nice. But the main thing is you can still just give assault to 20 Necron warriors and still play Oricon and kind of have that and then still use some of the tech that's in there to play maybe a little bit more of a melee style list where you can still give the enhancement that you can put 10 Lich Guard with the Trans Shroud um, to advance and charge for a CP across the board. Score pecks still feel great. You can salt and pepper in some locust destroyers as well if you need to. But I think just in general, I think that's a very interesting play style. And then yeah, I that would be like my other kind of thing I would be tempted to kind of play.
Yeah, they're taking hold is your mission. Necrons do it very well.
Yeah.
If I were you, that's those two recommendations. Kidnap the court without the immortals. I would say probably stray away from it. Um, why don't you hit us up in the Discord? There's a Necron breakdown in there. We have quite a few very good Necron players. So shoot us a message in there. Throw your list in there. People can give it critiques, myself and Lane included, and we love talking about those things. James will answer this question and we'll get right back to it. I know there's no way you can do all the layouts. Have you guys thought about doing the terrain layouts for maybe the more popular matchups? Example, Purge versus Taken Hold. Those videos rocked. Well, James, you may say it can't be done, but Lane and I say otherwise. And we have come up with a plan that we believe is going to be the most effective way to go through each layout. Because we'll just really quick before we get back into it, there are some difficulties with going through all these layouts because it's not like 11th edition or 10th edition where Lane and I, if we're playing against each other, we're trying to do the same thing. We can't give advice from just one side of the board anymore of like, hey, our opponent is trying to do the same thing as us.
Yeah.
That is no longer the case. Now we have to give advice based on what our opponent is trying to do. And then the staging and ideas and play patterns are going to be completely different. And these videos are probably going to have to be pretty general because the difference between Purge for example, Tau Maka versus Purge like CSM are two completely different armies. And even though you're running Taken Hold, and we're trying to give you advice for Taken Hold versus Purge, we have to be cognizant of all of those things, right? So it's going to take a little bit of work, but we do think it's going to be beneficial.
Yeah.
All right. Back to it, Lane.
Okay.
We'll do the next 5: Custodes, Dark Angels, Drakari, Admech, and Nids.
Yeah, there are some. For the most part, I think things are performing kind of where we had thought. A little bit of underperformance. Specifically, I think the Tyranids, in my opinion. I think Tyranids. They're still doing fine. That's still a good weekend, but I don't know. I felt like they got some of the largest buffs when it came to the updates in the rules and how everything kind of worked. Still a very respectable win rate and stuff. Things are still early. I think the other thing that we haven't talked about as much too is right. They haven't had just like an obvious, this is the best way. There's been a lot of talk of just being like, you take the Norns, you play take and hold, and you just say, can you kill this? As it turns out, I'm sure there are things that can still kill that. So I understand the theory behind it. Like it's not a horrible plan, but if people are tech to bring big things down, you just don't win those. So I think we're still waiting to find a little bit more balanced version of a Tyranids list that is going to do really really well. But I think they're still in a very strong spot.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, uh, their battle shock mechanic is very good, and they have access to some very good ones, being the Neurolictor, being Shadows in the Warp. I like them a lot. I'll speak very highly about Drakari, right? Unfortunately, you and I have the, the side effect of playing against some of the best Drakari players in the country, being Cody Giroux and Nick Rosasco, and Ari, who I met a couple weeks ago up in New York, and they are a fantastic Drakari player. And I'm excited to maintain that relationship and keep playing into them. So all of those things are really really nice. But Drakari incredibly solid. I think Reapers. I think Spectacle. I think the Sky Splinter. All 3 of those attachments have play in this new edition. Dark Angels are surprising for me to be the number 1 as of right now Space Marine faction that isn't generic Space Marines. I think Blood Angels are better than Dark Angels. But there is a build where you take a bunch of the new jet bikes, or not the new ones, but the Talon Masters and all the air cav, and you run something like that with all that plasma, pretty freaking good. Watch the play, pretty solid. Um, and then another sleeper, which is, I don't know why I'm picking on this, but I played against AdMech at ATC. That shit was good. That was really good. Like, action efficiency, it had all the tools. It was annoyingly durable. It was hyper efficient in shooting. Like, even just like a two-man of those uh, chickens with las cannons, lethal sustains on fives, twin linked, full rerolls to hit, full rerolls to wound. God, they just tore me up. I was running Death Guard. I'm supposed to be durable. Those things are freaking lethal. And I liked it a lot. The Rad Zone detachment is really interesting. I've seen that played quite a few times, where it's like forcing your opponents to take battle shocks at the beginning of the game, and you're taking mortal wounds throughout the game. I think that's really, really interesting. Um, and then Custodes. Will Custodes be good at the beginning of this edition? Yes, they are good. They suffer from one thing and one thing alone: is the lethality of the game is higher. You have to be on terrain, which means you can get shot. The one benefit that we had for lethality is -1 pretty much meant nothing to us, because if I was in cover, I'm back to my 2-up save, and it didn't really matter. Now I'm always going to be on my 3-up save pretty much, right? There's no AOC in Custodes anywhere. So you're relying on that 3-up save. You're relying on that invul. Is Taken Hold good? Yes. Is Purge good? Yes. But there's a balancing aspect to the fact that you're not durable enough, but you are freaking lethal. So this 48% win rate does not shock me. Couple undefeateds in there, which is nice. This feels okay. Has room to go up, but it feels okay. These 5, very good armies.
Yeah.
Very
Yeah,
good.
I think it's one of the things, like, personally, as I look at custodes, like, what kind of play do I want to play? And I want bikes and I want Venatari.
Mm,
Because as you're talking about, yes, you can kill me. But if I am fast and I can put myself in places that you cannot touch me, and I can just critical mass you with melee and do a lot of those things, I don't know. I think those tools in custos right now are just excessively valuable. More so than like wardens are still very good. They're still durable, but I think their stocks aren't as good as before because of what Phil's saying, right? It's so much easier to just make you fail saves now because of the way cover works.
and AP1 means something. It
Yeah.
finally means something to Custodes, and it didn't mean anything to them before. So, okay. All right. The boogeymen of 10th edition are back. We have Chaos Space Marines, then Space Wolves, Leagues of Votan, Sisters, and Blood Angels. Are all 5 of these armies actually at this point?
I mean, I think for the most part, I don't know. It's also relative. Like, even looking at these win rates, they're starting to get a little lower than we'd like to see. But like, I think they're still fine armies.
Yeah.
Like, I think we both thought CSM would be doing a little better than this. Um, and then Blood Angels is the other one. I think are the two we thought were going to be doing much better than this, but it's still early, right? And again, we've
Early.
talked about this too. People are still trying to find the right ways to play these. Blood Angels have some good detachments, but which of those are actually the best at letting you kind of win your game and play the certain missions you want to? It was brought up. I forget where I saw it, but like Blood Angels 2-point detachments and 1-point detachments don't really mesh as well as you really like to.
Mm,
To see, which would be a nice thing to maybe see balanced a little more. Votan, I think is doing fairly well. I think there's actually been quite a bit of variety that I've seen and talked to people about playing, and I think it's going to just keep getting better as people curate those lists because it is an army that has access to just some ridiculous damage
yeah.
in some of those, and then also being -1 to wound is just so nice.
When you
Um,
stack that on -1 to hit, like,
yeah,
gosh, that's really good.
yeah.
I don't think this represents how good these armies are. I think Leagues of Votann are very good. I think 6-inch Deep Strike with those Terminator bricks absolutely rinse armies. Rinse them. Like if you were to tell a Votann player, hey, you got to play against a 50% win rate army, but that 50% win rate army is knights, they'd be like, yeah, okay, yeah, we'll take that because that is such a good matchup for them. And there's quite a few other ones that they really like because they have the effectiveness and damage to play the game. So like Votann, very good. Blood Angels, they are on my top of my list for bringing to a GT because I think they're that solid. Um, Sisters and Space Wolves are probably the two outliers. I think there's a few things that they're going to struggle with that potentially bring them down slightly. But as we will see in the next 2 weeks, this is the Mastercrafted guarantee. After that 2 week mark, when we get our next data slate, you are going to see armies increase, right? And even if your army isn't touched, that does not mean that your army won't get better. Because when they knock down the top cream of the crop, top meta armies, and they bring those down, all of those other armies are going to come up in terms of effectiveness because those armies aren't as good. It's just the way it's going to work. 100%. Mastercraft guarantee.
Yeah. Another faction that Phil gave out the Mastercrafted guarantee for quite a bit, Black Templars.
Yes.
Still not super high on the Space Marine rankings themselves. But as you're talking like Bastion and some of these other things, I think it's one of those things too where it's still trying to find the balance within Black Templars, and doing some list building, finding the right detachments and stuff. They're still. I agree. I don't think they are one of the top three versions of Marines. They just aren't. But I
Yep.
still think they're fine, and their win rate is still okay. I think it's hopefully one of those things we'll see tighten up as we get some more FAQs.
Yep. I will point out, and we love getting a little drama in there. I do know that there was one Templars player that won undefeated that did really well, but his freaking list was hidden. He was one of those players that hid their lists, so we weren't actually able to take a look at what they were running. I personally, Anna Lane feels the same way. That's pretty shitty.
Don't share
I
the
just don't like
sauce.
it. What's that?
Don't share the sauce.
That's
Can't be.
like if you're gonna go to a GT, if you're gonna go to a tournament, and you feel like you have earned the right out of all the other players there to get special treatment and hide your list, then you should not be going to that GT. I don't care if you're getting ready for WTC. If you want to keep a list under wraps, you practice at home, you practice with your teammates or people that you trust. You don't get to go to a tournament and hide your list while everyone else has to expose theirs. Just the way it is. Cool. Let's see here. Jacob says, I just want to let you guys know that yours is one of my favorite channels. You guys are awesome and I appreciate the content. I mention this channel often to my play group. Thanks, man. Jacob, we really appreciate that. We love talking about 40K. And I'm glad it's something that's helped you. Hopefully the layout videos coming soon will help you as well because they're gonna be hefty. They're gonna be a lot of work, but we think it's gonna be effective. So yeah, thanks for the compliment. We appreciate that. Okay, let's talk about the worst army in 40K. Astra Militarum, then Death Guard, then Imperial Agents, barely below it, World Eaters, Death Watch, and Chaos Knights. Obviously, these are the worst armies in the game.
Obviously. I just want to point one thing out, which is Death Guard is not remotely where this is, like in terms of win rate. Death Guard is gross right now, from what we have seen people playing, and I don't think it's as obvious. Like I think a lot of people are still just playing Virulent Victorium and stuff. Like I don't think there's some of the other sauce that has been discovered for Death Guard that is brutal. Our good buddy Matt played Death Guard at the teams tournament in a recon build, playing all three single point detachments, and he was doing dirty things to people with that list. Like it's not a crazy list; it's a lot of drones and just like a ton of crap, and it's good. So guard is better than that army. So you know what? We can't be doing too bad.
uh, and I mean, Lane, my Death Watch is down here too,
That doesn't
and
surprise me. No, I'm just kidding.
I think Death Watch is the second best version of Space Marines
Hmm.
behind Blood Angels. I think it's your generic ultras, right? And then um, Blood Angels, and then Death Watch.
Okay.
I am very confident in that take.
All right. Well, I can't wait to see you take Deathwatch to your next GT.
So I have 3 tournaments lined up, and I'm going to take them to one. It's just a matter of which one I'm going to take them to. Because I got a tournament this weekend, I got a tournament the following weekend, and then I'll be going to the Lone Star Open and playing in that 300 player GT. So go ahead, throw it in the chat. Would you Phil play at a 300 player GT with a golden ticket on the line that he really would like to get? Um, and play against some great players. So I am looking forward to that. But Death Watch are I love them. I don't know what it is. Maybe it's the uppy down. Like all of my armies have that besides Death Guard, really. And Custodians don't really have that. Besides like the Terminators ish, but it's not really that effective. But yeah, I really, really like them.
Hmm.
Next question. Are Imperial agents just suffering from being shit for the entirety of 10th edition? Is there play there now or no?
I mean, 2 players thought so, at least, to take them to a tournament.
Mm,
Um,
that's
good,
true.
good for them. Brave souls. Still got a 40% win rate, so you know, not too shabby. Hopefully, I'm hoping that's one of the things that they fix this edition. Like they need to give them, like honestly, I think that would be one of the coolest ways is to give Imperial agents like they should be like single point detachments, and then you can like or even 2 point detachments, and you can pull in detachments from other Imperial armies
Ooh,
to make combos, and like that would be a very cool way to make Imperial agents like your main army, but you can bring in single point detachments from these other factions, you know, and put a little sauce in there, put something that's worth doing. um
honestly, Lane, that gets me pretty excited because I would love to see like Imperial agents with my Death Watch or Imperial agents with Imperial Knights. Like Imperial Knights would love to have some actual scoring pieces to play the game differently. Same with some of these Space Marine factions, Black Templars with Imperial agents. I know there's some sauce there. So yeah, dude, sounds like great. Let's hit up GW.
yeah,
Let's get on their rules team.
yeah.
Let's
GW,
fix
are
it.
you
That way.
listening? Yeah, because like you can still ally stuff in, but there's just like so many terms and conditions and limits on what you can
Yeah,
really bring in. It'd just be so nice if it was just like 1,000 points flat, do whatever you want, you know, pick 2 detachments. I think it'd be great.
yeah.
Um, the other armies we got left, we got World Eaters, who are just apparently just still struggling. Too much, can't get it done. Which honestly, like in my opinion, like I felt like this is an army people should be crashing out more about than
Mm,
Guard. Like I still think World Eaters are okay. I think they're playable. I think they do suffer on having to trade down, very similar to when we were talking about EC. It's a very similar problem they can run into. Um, but I think that they're still just so insanely fast um, that like I think they can do some work. Um, I think I might take them to a GT. I'm gonna steal Ryan's World Eaters and I'm gonna go play them just to see how I do. Because yeah, I think there's definitely still play there. I think you really have to, and I think that's the biggest point that makes it hard for World Eaters is they are like the only uber monophase army where like melee is the only thing they do. You still at least have noise marines, blood angels still have options to just take any space marine gun
yeah,
platform, but like world leaders is like if you do not fully understand the all the new melee, how to get everything out of the new pylons, everything at and really max that part of the game out, it's much tougher. And I think we're going to see some of the better World Leaders players get over that hump and stuff and start winning more with them. And I hope, like, honestly, I think some of their points could go down too. Like a lot of their stuff got taxed fairly heavily in 10th edition. And then they just got power crept and points haven't gone back down since.
yeah,
So I think that would be healthy.
Yep. I would agree. They are not in the same vein as Death Guard, right? They gave Death Guard buffs and didn't give World Eater buffs. Like that would be criminal because Death Guard are not reflective of this win rate right now. They are very good. The last one is Chaos Knights. Now, we saw their brethren at the 50% win rate mark. Chaos Knights are incredibly lower than that. That does not track. That does not compute for me, Lane, because I see a pretty much similar army that actually has better tools with demons, with battle shock shenanigans, with uppy down, and pretty much the same chassis. Um, why are they so low?
I honestly have no idea. I had built a list for our buddy Zach to play this last weekend, and he ended up being sick, couldn't make it, and so I had a coach from another team play them. Basically, went 3-0-1 playing them for the first time ever, um, and stuff. But it was like I don't know. I think it's very interesting to see. Like I just don't understand. I don't know if people are trying to like maybe they're tired of Infernal and they've been just trying to like shake it up. I think Infernal is still just so good.
Mm,
Um, that like it's still you have freedom now. You can finally play things that aren't the GAT despoiler and feel good about it. I think playing like the one of the knights had the double thermal cannon and just absolutely dirty things, doing 40 damage to other knights. Seeing some Imperial knights, and I think they're also much better with their smaller versions. Brigands stocks are great on those. You now just ignore cover basically against things on objectives. Like that's a huge rule for them now, and I think that the value of those chassis I think is a lot higher. People now you can't even screen the same way you used to. Having a carnivore that can move 17 inches if it's buffed, and you're like, well, you can't step over me. Like, do you know how far back you have to be for that
yeah.
armature not to step over, or war dog to step over you? I don't know. I think Chaos Knights have a lot more sauce than this is giving them credit for. Say with most armies down here, we're seeing quite a few things that are 40 or lower that I think can very easily within the next 2 to 3 weeks, as people figure out the game a little more, we should hopefully see getting closer to 45 themselves.
This is like rubbing your hands together, like, oh, you think Death Guard is bad? You think Chaos Knights are bad? You think Death Watch is bad? I'm about to show you.
Yeah, yeah. Chaos Knights, whew, man, I don't know, wild, but yeah. Uh, Beginner dude, my friend is just starting out. What do you think are the best armies for someone like that? Chaos Knights. Uh, very efficient on getting getting points per model and per dollar. Have them play knights either way. Would be my suggestion if somebody is looking to get into the hobby fast, not have to remember a bunch of stuff. Um, that's my recommendation. The best recommendation is still to have them take a tour of the lore and then pick something that they want to play, something that resonates with them. That will always be the best army is one that you just really find yourself, enjoying. You like the lore, you like the aesthetic. That's by far always still the rule for getting into the hobby, especially. Once you get past that and you care just about playing the game, and that's it, then you can just meta chase.
Yeah, I would say like this is actually something I just thought about. Lane kind of triggered it for me. Is like what I would do, especially for people that are like big readers or maybe they like listening to audiobooks. I would just have like go through a bunch of the audiobooks, let them pick out one that they think is cool or an actual book, and like start with that. Go read the lore of one of these factions, whether it be one of the Space Marine chapters, the Chaos Space Marine. Like there's books on everything. If you want a book recommendation, I read a lot of 40K. I really enjoy the books. So, like, if you want a book recommendation for one of the factions, like, hit me up because I love reading and I love reading the books, and that has definitely like motivated me to play and paint armies. So, yeah, I would go tell them to read a book. Go tell them to read something that they think they would enjoy, and that could trigger for them like something that they would want to continue to play and hobby most importantly for 11th edition.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I think that's great advice. So yeah. Anything else, Phil? I feel like that was a pretty good overview of kind of where the meta's at, what to expect with these armies, and hopefully some hope for those who are struggling at the bottom.
Yeah, it will be okay, guys. We will be just fine. Um, get your hobbying done. Paint your new armies. Do what you need to do. That's what I'm going to do right after this. I got some painting and hobbying to get ready for. But 11th edition is going to be a blast, and there's still a lot of things to learn. Stay tuned. We're going to have more videos coming out, especially as we build up. And then I have a run of tournaments coming up in the next 3 weeks where I'm just going to play 3 singles tournaments in a row, and we'll be we'll be right back at it because all I've played is teams at the beginning of 11th. I gotta play some singles now.
Awesome. All right. Well, thank you everybody for tuning in. Please like, subscribe, comment. It all helps us out a lot. And hopefully we'll see you in the Discord and we'll chat about, some of the armies that you are playing, what lists you've been playing, and give you some thoughts on maybe how to make them better. Yeah. In the meantime, do not forget that victory isn't given, it is forged, and is forged right here on Mastercrafted. We will see you all next time.